Support this podcast via our Patreon and get more writerly goodness. Visit patreon.com/nanocast to join up.
Welcome to NaNoWriMo Every Month. My name is J. Daniel Sawyer. I'm the author of some 20 books, 34 short stories, and numerous articles and other things, and I am your guide on this journey to use NaNoWriMo to level up to professional output levels. Welcome to The Questions, Episode 21. Joseph asks, I wrote 2 novels last year. Both of them share the same setting and the same time frame. My big problem, both stories seem to wind to a natural close around 40 or 50,000 words. Later, when I started revising story A, I realized that story B was just one half of the same coin. As such, I decided to mash them together in an alternating chapter style. In terms of plot and tone and characters, of course, they are very different, and the editing process as it stands is going to be monstrous. That's not to say I'm just trying to beef up my word count. I've figured out how the stories go together, and it makes more sense than keeping them separate. It's like I just wrote the book out of order. I get the feeling that I'm simply going to have to rewrite the whole thing, but I'm hesitant. I'm not the most experienced writer, and I can't help shake the feeling that there is an easier way. Do you have any advice for how to proceed? Well, a few thoughts right out of the gate, Joseph. The first is that 40 or 50,000 words in today's world, you're into short novel territory anytime you're below 50,000 words, but that's a perfectly good length for a book. A lot of classic novels are that length. A lot of the novels that sell really well today are that length. A lot of Hugh Howey's novels are shorter than that. It sounds like you panicked based on word count expectations from the pre-ebook revolution days when word counts had been gradually over decades artificially inflated so that publishers could justify jacking up the costs on paperbacks so that they could stay profitable due to the increase in distribution costs and other things like that. It's a complicated economic reality, but the natural length for a lot of novels is around 50,000 words. And you're panicking because your books are too short is error number 1. Those books are not too short. In today's world, your book is done when it comes to a natural end. If it's 20 to 30,000 words, you may want to price it a little bit less, but that's a good short novel. If it's 50 to 60,000 words, that's a good regular length novel. If it's 80 to 90,000 words or 120, that's a doorstop blockbuster. And then, of course, if it's in the 200,000 word range, then you may want to think about splitting it up. 40 to 50,000 words is not too short for a book. It's a wonderful length for a book because you can read it in an afternoon and it's very satisfying. So that's error 1. Error 2, it sounds like, is that if you say their plot and tone are very different and their characters are very different, these are not two halves of the same novel. They may be related to each other, and you may be able to relate them to each other, but mashing them up like you're talking about doing, if they're that different, that's not a good idea, because what you're going to have to do is, as you said, you're going to have to basically tear it apart and rewrite from scratch. Now, you can do that. There's no rule saying you can't do that, but if you're looking for an easier way, try this one on for size. Release the books separately, and write a third book that ties them together, and then you've got a 3-book series. Or release them separately and pop a couple of scenes into each one that connect them in sort of a vague way so that they're in the same world even though they're not part of the same plot, and make that world that they're set in. I understand that it's a contemporary setting rather than a fantasy setting, but even contemporary books have their own world, and those worlds will develop their own rules as time goes along. Put them in the same world, vaguely connect them to each other the way Stephen King has vaguely connected his books together, not in any kind of plot way. He's even connected his completely non-fantastical books to his fantastical books just by having little call-outs and intertextual bits between the books. You can do that. But it sounds like you're basically faced with one of 2 choices. You can either tear down and redo from start, or you can let it go and move on either to a book 3 in the series or to another project entirely and just release them as sort of loosely connected books. You can even package them together as book 1 and book 2 of the Eugene, Oregon Chronicles or whatever city they're set in. But when you've got such differences in tone and plot and character, even if you're talking about 2 books that are aspects of a single story, mashing them together like that is probably going to cause you more trouble than it's worth. That's my opinion. Take it or leave it as you like. This is your book. You should do with it what you feel is right. But don't back yourself into a corner because of expectations that you're carrying around about what a book should be like that aren't appropriate for the books that you've actually written. Let the books be what they wanted to be. Your subconscious did that for a reason. It's worth trusting your subconscious because even if it's a mistake, you're going to learn from it. And it may well not be a mistake, and you may be crushing something very beautiful in the interest of trying to fit it into a mold that isn't relevant in today's world. Anyway, that's my opinion for what it's worth, and I'll see you tomorrow. NaNoWriMo Every Month is written and presented by J. Daniel Sawyer and produced by Artistic Whispers Productions. Visit our website at NaNoWriMoEveryMonth.com and leave a tip in the tip jar to support this podcast. NaNoWriMo Every Month is copyright 2015 by J. Daniel Sawyer and Artistic Whispers Productions and released under a Creative Commons Attribution Non-Commercial No Derivatives license.